Well, I'd be lying if I told you this has been a fun weather system to track. It has been anything but that, especially with the models swinging all over the place. And, for the longest time, I've never said there's certainty of snow falling in the Northeast. And anytime we're looking at these models, I try to give you some idea, at least as I'm giving you the video, as to my confidence in things. And the confidence is growing here across Missouri, Kansas, northern Arkansas, and southern Missouri. We've been talking about that for the last couple of days. The question is, what happens when the storm gets here? There's starting to be better agreement today, so I'm leaning even more so that this thing is going to stay south. You're clearly starting to see that not just here in the forecast data, but also from the National Weather Service talking about those numbers out of Philadelphia this evening. They're talking about how the trends have been much further to the south. So this could be a storm for Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads, Newport News. It's incredible to look at these winter storm watches that have come out and some of the wordings in them. Just wild to see more than 10 inches of snow possible for the Tidewater of Virginia. So Chesapeake, Suffolk, all the way along the North Carolina line. Very interesting. So we're going to look at all of that as we get into the video today. Tennessee, you're going to see some snow out of this too, and it may extend as far south as maybe the Mississippi-Georgia line. Now, I want to show you something. That's the GFS. The NAM model really keeping most of the snow out of Tennessee, and I'm starting to get into that time frame, I think, where the NAM has a little more oomph than maybe it would once you get beyond 60 hours. I don't like to look at the NAM, and it's always heavy on the precip. So we're going to look at that in the video today. Let's start off with what's going on across the central U.S. We're going to look at some of the warnings too. And by the way, check this out. It just blows my mind to look at the number of cold weather advisories. I want to show you the National Weather Service website because this does a good job, I think, of just depicting. Look at all these deep blues. Those are extreme cold warnings that we're going to see. Some places in North Dakota could see wind chills as low as 60 degrees below zero Fahrenheit. I don't even know what that would even feel like. I can't even imagine. A slew of winter storm warnings now running from central Kansas, Oklahoma, where that snow could be really heavy right here in this area. Those now have extended east to include northern parts of Tennessee, also Kentucky, and now we've got the winter storm watches out here from North Carolina up into eastern Virginia. Kind of skipping this area here into Virginia and West Virginia. I'm going to show you that in just a moment on the model and the weird things that are happening with our weather system as it moves off to the east. Let's zoom in on some of these warnings now. We've had these out for more than a day now across Kansas, from Wichita up to Topeka, Kansas City under a winter storm warning. Winter weather advisories for St. Louis, the heaviest band of snow, clearly just to your south. But I think it's wild that they've put Memphis now in a winter storm warning. And winter weather advisories extending a little bit further to the south, Tupelo, down into Clarksdale, Mississippi. We've got winter weather advisories, winter storm warning for Little Rock now, and those extend north and east here. And you can see those winter weather advisories flanking the winter storm warnings. Nashville right now, winter storm warning up in here. We've got a ton of flood warnings too for these areas. That's why you're seeing these weird little holes. They're certainly not skipping the winter storm warnings. On the northern side of this, Evansville winter storm warnings up to Lexington, and then just on the northern side, Louisville. The question will be how much snow will we see here? Again, not a lot of confidence as you head east. Winter storm watches here for the counties in far southwest, West Virginia, and southwest Virginia, but winter weather advisories north of Knoxville. Once you get up on the Cumberland Plateau, a little bit up in elevation, a better chance of some snow into far southwest Virginia. And these are new. This is brand new. Winter storm watches now out for eastern North Carolina. So Raleigh, Durham, over to Greensboro, down to Fayetteville. And not, well, yeah, we are into Winston-Salem and High Point, so just to the west here, but not as far west as Statesville and Charlotte, and then over to Greenville, North Carolina, from Jacksonville north. Once you get down a little bit further to the south toward Wilmington, those watches go away, and there even could be a little bit of ice mixing in here. This is where I think it's just absolutely impressive. The fact that we've got winter storm watches out right now for Virginia Beach, Norfolk, and then all along the eastern shore, up into southern parts of Maryland and the far southern part of Delaware too. Winter storm watches out. It does not include Dover. This is all south of Baltimore, D.C. The trends have been to be much further to the south, and that's why you're seeing these watches much further to the south. It's extremely windy across the Northeast. While we're here, I want to talk about that. A lot of snow downwind of the lakes too, with high wind warnings and wind advisories in effect. And then there's the cold. Again, extreme cold warnings across a lot of the central U.S. And we've even got some snow falling back into Montana and Wyoming and into the Cascades too, with winter storm warnings back here. So that's a quick look at the warnings and the advisories. Head to weather.gov to make sure you stay updated there. And, since this is a live look at things, I do want to check this out. Let's go in here and just look at some of these winter storm watches. This is really impressive. And I was checking this out before I came on because I was just curious as to what they were actually saying for places like Virginia Beach, all right, Hampton Roads, Newport News, 5 to 10 inches of ice and snow. So total accumulation between 5 and 10 inches, and then there could be ice up to 1/10 of an inch possible. So really impressive numbers coming out here into eastern Virginia, and you're seeing that with all of these winter storm watches that are now up here. And, just kind of digging into it a little bit further, there's a look at their graphic that they have on the National Weather Service. I think we're out of Wakefield, Virginia here. Yeah, so check that out. Even Richmond now in 4 to 6 inches of snow. Norfolk 8 to 12. Boy, it's been a long time since we've seen that much snow here in the tidewater of Virginia and then on the peninsula up and down 64. So I think it's going to be a pretty rough go from Richmond on 64 going all the way down to the beach. Looking rough. And the numbers actually go down as you head further north and west up towards Charlottesville, and that's not on this map. So let's switch sources, and we'll get back into the live content tonight, and we'll track the model data, and we'll look at things here. All right, the snow going, timestamp above my head. This is Eastern time, so by midnight into the early morning hours of Wednesday, the snow moving east. And then there it is. It picks up again right here into southeast Virginia as our low ramps up. The European from today continues to take that low offshore. It keeps the upper low spinning back here. So underneath that, too, there's going to be some cold and also some unstable air. So I think we're going to get some snow showers out of this. Let's talk about the snow totals. Let's start off with a look at the newest NAM model here across Kansas. Pretty close to our forecast. That's the model data. This is your forecast data for pretty much the same area. You get the idea. Wichita up to Topeka. We're going to see, looks like anywhere between 8 to 12 inches of snow, especially down here into the southeast corner of Kansas. Down towards Joplin, I think we're going to get some snow out of this, maybe close to a foot. And then across the Oklahoma line down toward Tulsa, the numbers do start to fall off, but right along the Kansas border, quite a bit of snow falling here. Let's move east now into Missouri. Again, we talked about Joplin. You go north of that, some snow falling here towards Springfield too. Winter storm warnings out here, no doubt. More than a foot of snow in the forecast. These are touch numbers, so a lot of times I'm showing you model data. These are official numbers that are coming out from the National Weather Service. Once you get up towards St. Louis, again, that's your rip-off line, so you can get an idea. North of that, no snow, very little, if any, though. The heavy stuff to your south. And look as this moves east, how everything kind of falls apart. Why are we losing the snow? Well, the system doesn't have a lot of energy, so the snow totals are going down, but we still have winter storm warnings out for parts of Tennessee. It does include Memphis, a couple of inches of snow here, but another thing to keep an eye on would be the ice. There could be some freezing rain mixing in with this down across Arkansas just to the south, not just into Tennessee with the snow. Let's zoom out just a little bit to the south. You can see that also across Oklahoma. So it's another reason we've got these winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings out, just because of the ice potential. This would take you through Thursday. All right, back to the snow. We'll continue across Tennessee now, up into Nashville, a couple of inches, 2 to 4 inches, I think, here. And then further north into Kentucky, probably higher amounts, more like 3 to 6. And that's a pretty steady snow here from central Kentucky. Now, once you get up around Cincinnati, those numbers go down quite a bit. And then into northern West Virginia, almost no snow here. But once you get to Charleston, head south towards Beckley, Bluefield, down to Bristol, some snow on the way here. But those numbers do fall off quite a bit down towards Knoxville. It's one of the reasons we don't have any winter weather advisories for Knoxville down to Gatlinburg, Sevierville, all the way down to Chattanooga, Cleveland, Tennessee. I'm trying to think of all those small towns there on I-75, Athens. Yeah, so it's always tough to get snow in this part of Tennessee. At this point, very little, if any, expected. You got to get up into the mountains even the mountains of western North Carolina. Just not as much moisture showing up. The forecast database not showing as much as a result of the models kind of backing off on the idea. Now, the Europeans still trying to put some snow in here, but you can see as that snow pushes out of West Tennessee into the eastern parts of Tennessee and Kentucky, it's definitely weakening. And then, boom, we get the influence of the coastal low here, and that affects eastern North Carolina into eastern Virginia with a heavy band of snow. So if you go into this region and you look at the NAM model, which again, it's starting to get into that time frame when it does pretty good. at least with the placement of the precipitation. It also shows that snow weakening as it moves into Virginia, but then once the coastal low takes over, bang, right there, you get some heavy banding of snow developing heading into Wednesday night. Now, I'm going to tell you that the NAM model is doing this weird thing. It's still way offshore, but it's still trying to put some snow up into New Jersey. I mean, I guess it could snow in southern New Jersey, but the brunt of this storm, to me at this point, still looking to the south. It's Monday. We're looking at a model now on Thursday. So tomorrow, let's see what this trend does. Do we still see this thing moving offshore? The big global models continue to show that. This is the GFS, giving us the idea of that heavy snow here into southeast Virginia. It's no wonder the National Weather Service is putting 5 to 10 inches of snow into Virginia Beach. And then north of that, nothing. So it is what it is, guys. Hey, it's forecasting. It's not exact. And when you see these models, by the way, did you know that these aren't called exactly how it's going to shape up, right? I mean, they're not. You cannot believe these verbatim. The weather's going to do what it's going to do. And these models can only do so much with what they have. And the data going in, if it's not good, if there's something off just a little bit, it's like shooting an arrow down the road or down a 100-yard field. If you're off by just a little bit, you can see how your entire storm could shift a little bit. Like you're aiming your bow, and you're off maybe an inch. At 100 yards, that 1 inch turns into 10 feet. So that's the problem when you look at long-range forecasting. But we're starting to get into that time frame where there's a lot of agreement. You can clearly see it. We've still got a storm. It's just in a different place. It means all the difference, right, for snow into the interior areas. All right, so here we go with the cold, though. This is another thing that's going to be going on over the next couple of days. Temperatures well below average. Some really chilly air setting in. And with high pressure building in, we're going to see the precipitation start to go away. We've kind of got a dry week setting up a quiet week once we get through this storm. And now beyond this, something weird is showing up here by next weekend. Now, this is just a weird cutoff upper low. This hasn't been showing up quite like this. It's been showing up in a variety of ways. Yesterday, it was kind of showing up more of a trough swinging through. But nonetheless, the idea that there could be a weak system moving through as we head into the weekend, bringing a little bit of light rain and maybe some light snow. And again, I don't know. This thing's trying to get something wrapping up in the Northeast next week. Still way too early on that. More details to come. And then beyond that, who's going to believe anything out this far? But you get the idea. Kind of active. So, again, across the west, we didn't really look here much. A little bit quieter. We've really focused on this storm across the east. There is going to be some rain and snow moving into the Pacific Northwest. Some of that could get heavy heading into Wednesday. And then after that, a little bit quieter for a few days before our next storm starts to push into the same area. Quiet across the southern states here into California, into the Four Corners states. Nothing like what we're seeing in the east. And maybe it'll start to calm down a little bit after this. Maybe some of you are excited about spring. I don't know. I kind of am, not going to lie. All right, the days are getting longer, and the sun is definitely getting stronger. But I don't know that winter's done just quite yet. You never know. There could be a surprise around the corner. I'll be tracking it. If you're new, I hope you'll subscribe. Consider coming back. I'm Travis. If you're brand new, have no idea who I am. If I keep hitting your algorithm, I hope you'll subscribe. My background, I used to be a chief meteorologist many, many years ago on television. I've been out of that business for a while, and I've been tracking this stuff on YouTube now, making these videos when I can in my spare time. So I hope you'll come back, all right? Thanks for watching. See you next time.